Hello there y'all, welcome in the second video of this tutorial. And so in the previous video we went through the print statement in Python. We saw some examples and we also discussed comments and the use of them. So in this video we're going to be talking about variables and data types. And by the way, in the last video we had a task to print this statement, the hello world, the typical print statement, and I ended the video without doing so, so let's get that done right now. Hitting Control B. Now we're good. Hello world. Alright, let's start with our video. Let me delete this. Alright, so what are we gonna be talking about today? Are variables and data types in Python. So they are built-in data types in Python, in programming in general. So those data types are really important. They are an important concept. Variables can store data. They are like a box that contains some kind of a data type. There are lots of kinds of data types: strings, numbers, data structures. There are a lot of them, and we're going to go through each one of them. Well, variables, as I said, can store data of different types, and different types can do different things. So Python has the following data types built in by default. The first one is the string data type. When you hear string, what we mean is anything that is wrapped by either double quotes or single quotes. It doesn't matter, you can choose whatever you want in Python. It doesn't put constraints on you, not like other languages. So this is what a string is. It's just like a text, anything. You can put a number here. This number is different than the other number we're gonna discuss later. This number means that this is a text, something that you type. It doesn't mathematics doesn't apply in this. Like, I can't add this number with this number. If I do this, an error will occur. Well, not an error. Actually, what's gonna happen is this. What's gonna get printed is a long string of numbers, as you can see here. Well, of course, this number plus this number isn't equal this. If I want to see the real results, I just have to remove these quotes and hit Control B again, and this is the math. Well, enough with math for now. As I said, well, what we saw here are strings, and strings are just text. With that out of the way, let's go to the next data type, and those are numeric types. They are integers and floats and complex numbers. I guess that came with the latest version of Python. But in this video, let's cover integers and floats. So integers are just like real numbers that don't have like a fraction or something like that. For example, 1 is a real number, 2 is a real number, 3 is a real number, and so forth. But 1.5 or 1.2 or something like that, that's called a float, and the float is different than an integer. I mean, they can add up together just fine, but in some situations you just have to use integers if you need to use integers, and use floats if you need to use floats. So what we covered so far are strings. Strings are just text, any text, and integers are numbers like 1, 2, 3, even negative numbers like -5, -10. We covered floats. Floats are numbers that give fractions, like when you divide 1 over 2, that gives you 1.5. 1.5 is a float. 2.8, 3 point something, anything. Just when you say a point, that means that you have a float. They are also known as doubles in other languages. And the other data type is the Boolean types. Booleans are either false or true, nothing else. They are just two values for a Boolean. Either true, well, we have Boolean, they are either true or false. That's it. In Python we have to use capital case true or false, just like that. And what else? We have data structures like sequence types. Sequence types, they are basically three. These are lists and tuples, and also a range. Well, let's see some examples. Well, let me remove this so we don't get an error. Let's comment all of these. Alright. Here, as I said, there are other types like data structures. Some of them are called lists. Lists are like a collection that contains a couple of data types, different ones. You can just put lots of variables inside a list. We denote a list by these brackets, these squared brackets, and here you can do whatever values you want. It just contains all variables you have. It does contain different data types, doesn't matter whether it is text, booleans, floats, or numbers, text, anything can be printed here. And if we print this, we're gonna get the following. We also have tuples. Tuples are the same as lists. Instead of using curly square brackets, we use parentheses, just like this, parentheses, and that means that we are using tuples. And the difference between tuples and lists is that lists are immutable and tuples are immutable. That basically means that once we construct a tuple, we can't change it anymore. But here in lists, we can tap into these values and change them however we want. Well, of course, we're gonna make other videos concerning data types, each one individually, like a video for text, integers, booleans, and definitely lists and tuples. This video is just covering all of them, giving an overview and what like. So we have other data sequence like a range. A range is it's more like a list, but you give a start value and an end value. Like this range will start from 1 and will end in 20. Here, if I print this, it's like I get a list that starts from 1 and goes through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 10, just like this. And of course you can print it here unless you are using a for loop or something, but this range contains all the values we need from 1 to 20. We also have other values like sets and frozen sets and dictionaries. Dictionaries are like key value types. You basically define a dictionary like this using curly brackets. You give it a name, for example, name, and it takes a value like Mike or something like that. The keys and the values can be whatever data type you want. It doesn't have to be necessarily a string. It can be a number like 1, this is to 1. And if we print this, we get the following like this. And we can tap into each one of the values by calling the name of this dictionary. First of all, let's assign it to some variable. Let's just call it dictionary. Dictionary is equal to this list. And if I want, for example, to print this Mike name, all I have to do is to get this dictionary and do like this, open two squared brackets and call the value I want to get by its key. For example, I want to get this Mike, then all I have to do is to use the name, this name, because this is the key of this value, just like this. And if I hit Control B, I get Mike here. The same for the other value. I just have to tap into this value using this key, which is just a number. Here I just put 1 and Control B, I get 2, because here 2 is the value of this key. Well, this was just an overview. We went through the most important data types in Python. We are going to make other videos concerning every single one of this, as I said, because this is a very important thing and we have to get the grasp about everything here in Python. This is the fundamentals, like the pure basics. If you get the hang of all of this, then you are all set to go. Well, that's it. You can get the data type of any object by using the type function. The type just tells you what is the type of the variable you have. For example, we have this variable. It's called variable for sure. Here, let's assign a text to it. Let's call it text. Here, if I want to know the type of this variable, all I have to do is to print its type. I just type type like this. I open brackets and the name of the variable I have, which is variable. You can name it whatever you want. Then I hit Control B. I get this class string. We'll get into classes later. That's a more advanced topic. It's out of the range of this video, but yeah, here it's called string. This str is just an abbreviation for string. For example, if we have here a number like 148, we get an integer here. As you can see, int, short for integer. Whatever you do here, a list works the same. Tuples work the same, dictionaries work the same, they all work the same. Here, as you can see, this is a list just because I wrapped this number with this squared brackets. Well, basically this type, it's helpful. It just lets you know what is the type of your variable. That's all it does. So I guess I'll have to wrap up this video here. In the next video, we're gonna be talking about every single one of these. We'll start with the strings and we'll dip in further, discuss more related topics about strings, how to concatenate strings together, how to go through every single character and how to split them, join them, all things concerning strings. And after that we'll jump into integers, floats, and until the end of this list. So this is it for this video. If you made it till the end, then you are a dope coder. This is it. This is the dope code signing out, and see you in the next video. Take care.